How's it going, everyone? Electro Pikachu here, and if you couldn't tell from either of my two channels, I like Pokemon. I like it so much that I've been playing the games for almost half my life now. Recently, I decided to start from scratch, journeying through some of my favorite regions, reliving the experience, while also getting to do things I never got to do originally, and sharing the adventure with you all. Last time, I started my new adventure with a revisit to my first ever Pokemon game, Pokemon Black 2. And now, we begin the next leg of our journey. The Hoenn region was the second region I ever got to play through, with Alpha Sapphire being my first experience. Since then, I have played through all versions of Hoenn in some form, and I must say the remakes are by far the best. Not only does it keep the original Ruby and Sapphire story, as well as certain elements from the third version of Emerald, but it utilizes the background and updates of Generation 6 to further expand on the lore and gameplay of Hoenn. Many interesting ideas are added on top of this, such as the Soaring Mechanic, and certain trainers having updated teams, making this remake far superior to not only the original versions, but truly make these the best remakes a Pokemon game has ever obtained. Of course, with my revisit to the game, I have some things that I want to accomplish by the end. Yes, I want to face Steven for the title, and yes, I want to stop the Meteoroid's collision with Hoenn. Beyond that, however, I want to utilize some of the other mechanics. I want to utilize the DexNav search function in order to find a 3-star potential Pokemon. I also want to raise one of my Pokemon to level 100, as this was something I never accomplished when I was little, unlike Black 2, where my original starter had reached this pinnacle of power. Finally, I want to find a shiny Pokemon. Knowing my luck from last time, I'm wondering how easy this will be to accomplish. Anyways, it's time for us to leave our Unovan home behind and travel to the region of Hoenn. Let's get this advanced adventure started! We exit a moving van to find ourselves now in the Hoenn region. With our previous Pokemon left back in Unovan, this will give us a chance for a fresh start. After missing out on seeing the Petalburg gym leader on live television, we'd head over to our neighbor's house and meet May, the daughter of the region's Pokemon professor, Professor Birch. Speaking of him, May realizes that she was supposed to help him with his research today, and so she runs off to take care of that. May must have missed her father somehow, as we find him running around Route 101 due to being chased by a Poochyena. He tells us to use one of the Pokemon in his bag to save him, and we select the Mudfish Pokemon, Mudkip. A few hits from the Mudfish are enough to take down Poochyena, and a grateful Professor Birch decides to let us keep the Hoenn starter as a thank you. So that's our first Hoenn Pokemon to join the team. Everyone give a warm welcome to Bowfin. With Professor safe and sound, he decides to have us go find his daughter. We do so, training on the way, of course, and find her on Route 103. She's quite happy to see us and decides to challenge us to a battle. May's partner is a Trico, and somehow she was lucky enough to get a female one. Despite the type disadvantage, I start off with Water Gun. It manages to do a good chunk thanks to a lucky crit, but as expected, Tackle still does more, so we finish the battle with that. With the battle over, May and I head back to Birch's lab, where we receive a Hoennian Pokedex from the professor. He tells us to go out and find all sorts of Pokemon, giving us the go-ahead to begin our adventure in the Hoenn region. So leaving the town of Little Root behind, Bowfin and I set out through the routes to complete a small task. The first task I take up is catching a full team's worth of Zigzagoon. This might seem strange, but Zigzagoon can have the ability Pickup, which passively allows for items to be obtained anytime we walk through the region. It's a great ability to have in a playthrough on one Pokemon, but having 5 increases the amount of items obtained on average exponentially. Unfortunately, none of them will be permanent members of the team, though we do catch a member on the road to Petalburg, Wormpole. I don't commonly use their early route bugs, and of them, Wormpole is the most interesting to me. With a split evolution right off the bat, it leaves some intrigue as to what you'll end up having by your side. I named him Christian, after my friend of the same name, due to the fact that it's been a running joke I've had since middle school. Funnily enough, though, Christian was in the call with me during this part of my adventure.
Christian, we're killing the bird together!
Let's go.
It's like it was meant to be. Continuing on, we watched some Beautifly with May, before meeting the gym leader of Petalburg, Norman. As much as I'd like to challenge him to a battle, we instead get tasked with helping a boy by the name of Wally. The boy has an illness which has been making it difficult for him to do anything, but he's been dreaming of becoming a Pokemon trainer. Now that he's moving from Petalburg, he'd like to give his dream a try and at least catch a Pokemon in order to have a friend in his new home. We agree to assist, and end up helping him catch a Ralts, a quite popular Pokemon in Hoenn. Once Wally's on his way, Norman tells us that we have to take on the other gyms of Hoenn before we're worthy of taking him on. I don't see how being the champion of Unovan doesn't make me worthy of facing him, but at least it will give us the chance to trade Bowfin and Christian. We decided to do just that back in Route 103. Christian had decided he wanted to learn Bug Bite, which I didn't think much of. It would give him a stab move other than Poison Sting, and if it was anything like Caterpie, I only had to get him to level 9. Unfortunately, in Generation 6, Wurmple does not learn Bug Bite until level 15! Meaning I had to train this little worm, this little spiky, wriggly, wormy guy, to 5 times the original level I caught him at. Needless to say, while we killed a good amount of the Ralts population, we would need to head further to face stronger opponents. We made our way over to Petalburg Woods and decided to use the DexNav to train off of Shroomish. I was also hoping to maybe find a good one off of the DexNav to add to my team, and lo and behold, it happened, as I was given a level 15 Shroomish, who also happened to know Worry Seed. I don't care about Worry Seed, but the level sold me on it, as this would make Shroomish the strongest Pokemon on the team, and would be perfect for the upcoming gym. So we caught her, and named her Jolene, after the female Toad from Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door. Fun fact, I have never played Paper Mario. Also, with 9 people in the call, we decided to vote Zigzagoon out each time a new member was added. This time around, it was Doug. Though my friend Reese did make the point that
no one by the name of Ted is a worthwhile human being.
Doesn't really fit the context of voting out Zigzagoon, but if any of you in the audience are named Ted, well, I guess you're not a worthwhile human being. Unless you like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell in that order to know when more videos like this are out. This has to be the worst way to promote my own channel. It was then that I chose to progress in order to reach more trainers to train Christian against. We returned to Petalburg Woods and found a researcher who was looking for Shroomish. As we talked to the man, he's jumped by a man who claims to be part of Team Aqua, that we then beat to death with a worm. As thanks, we're given the XP share, which will allow our team to all gain experience at once. It was then that the namesake of my Wurmple joined the call, and I instead chose to grind against Ralts. As I was grinding, I ended up finding something I wasn't expecting to get until later. And then the next time I find a Pokemon that I want to use, we'll have to vote again. And it'll be... Oh, wait! Oh, wait! This was one of the things that I was wanting to do. Hold up. Yeah, in my notes of goals, get a 3-star potential Pokemon through DexNav. I just accidentally completed that while trying to train you.
Good job.
I only have 3 Pokeballs, but one is a Great Ball, so let's try and catch this, so that way I can have it for myself. 3. Nice! I ultimately decided to not use it on the team, as I'm more of a Gallade guy than a Gardevoir enjoyer. Still, that's one of my goals for this adventure complete. We went back through the forest, getting foreshadowing of a character who won't be important until much later. After defeating a woman Shroomish, Christian grew to level 15 and finally learned Bug Bite, meaning he was allowed to evolve into Cascoon. It was then that I learned waiting until level 15 resulted in me missing out on Gust, Confusion, and Poison Powder. all of which would have been really helpful moves, especially for the second gym we'd face. We reunite with May in Rustboro City before finally evolving Christian into Dustox. It's then that we get ready for the gym. Now, if you didn't know, during my Black 2 playthrough, I limited myself to using the same number of Pokemon as the gym leader. In this adventure will be no different. So I entered the gym with Bowfin and Jolene, and got ready to clean house. Before even facing the gym leader, Bowfin evolves into Marshtomp. Our duo was already good enough to take on the gym, but I won't complain about some extra power. Now for the gym leader. Roxanne starts off with Geodude. Jolene seeds the rock, allowing us to break Sturdy and finish things with Mega Drain. She then sends out Nosepass, but we do the same combination and are able to take out Nosepass as well. First gym is ours. We didn't even need 2 Pokemon. Exiting the gym, we see that Team Aqua grunt from before running away while being chased by that scientist from before. We speak to the scientist and find out that the grunt had stolen the Devon parts. I don't know who Devon is or why the grunt needs his parts, but we still agree to get them back from the grunt. We arrive at Rusturf Tunnel to find out that the grunt didn't just take Devon's parts, but he also took a bird. Why though? We beat him up pretty quickly, and as a thanks, the bird's owner agrees to take us across the sea to the town of Dewford. Before that though, we have to speak with the president of the Devon Corporation, Mr. Devon Stone. Wait, his name is Joseph? Then who the heck is Devon? Well, it looks like he wants us to deliver a letter to his son for him. Don't know why he can't just call the guy or send a messenger bird to him, but I guess since we're already going to the place his son is, we might as well, right? For the second gym, I decided to bring Christian and Jolene. Christian was my best bet for victory, while Jolene would evolve into the fighting-type Breloom in the future. The gym puzzle is an interesting take on the original concept of having to navigate a dark maze, while making it a bit quicker. Eventually, we make it to the gym leader, Brawly, and begin the battle. Brawly begins with Machop. Christian's tackles and bug bites don't do much, but Machop's attacks barely phase us as well. We chip away at Machop slowly even after Brawly heals, before switching to Jolene in order to set up a Leech Seed and Poison Powder. Unfortunately, the drawback of poisoning Machop is that now it gets a Guts boost, meaning it's going to pack a punch. Christian heals with Moonlight before taking a Karate Chop. After the Leech Seed and Poison damage, one final attack takes down Machop. Makuhita is then brought out. We go back and forth trading commands of Poison Sting, Sand Attack, Moonlight, and Bulk Up. Even after a few uses of Bulk Up, Makuhita doesn't do too much damage with Arm Thrust. But with the amount of Sand Attacks used, Christian is barely able to hit a single attack. Due to this, Makuhita slowly chips us down until we're only barely hanging in there. We're able to heal before returning to slowly chipping away with Poison Sting. After a few attempts, we land a Poison Sting that manages to poison, once again giving my opponent a Guts boost. But we're able to live another Arm Thrust before the poison finishes Makuhita off. Our second badge has been won, but I will admit that battle got a little too close for comfort. Brawly informs us that Steven is currently located in Granite Cave. We head in and eventually locate him at the deepest part. Steven has made an incredible discovery over an ancient primal force, with an appearance that is seemingly different from something called Mega Evolution. His questions haven't been all answered yet, but now he's able to turn his attention towards us and the letter we have for him. As a thanks, he gives us the TM for Steel Wing, his favorite move that most of his Pokemon can't even learn. But we'll get to his Pokemon later. He explains a little bit about the legendary Pokemon, before telling us that we have what it takes to become a Pokemon champion. Do my accomplishments mean nothing to you? We literally both participated in the Champions bracket of the Pokemon World Tournament together. Heck, you and Wallace were the reasons I came to this region. Not to mention, you didn't even make it past the first round. Regardless, it's time for our journey to continue, as we have another errand to run in Slateport. Crossing the sea once again, we arrived in Slateport where I began immediately working on my next Pokemon that I wanted for my team. No, not Oddish, but it is essential due to the move Sweet Scent. With this Pokemon, I'm able to cause hordes of Pokemon to appear. This allows me to get a Pokemon that is normally a version exclusive. Minun. Now, is Minun strong? no, not really. But I actually like mining, and decided that I was going to hunt it for one of the 3-star potential. So after catching the Minun from the Horde, I was able to use the DexNav to find them more regularly. Over the next couple of hours, I then ran back and forth constantly checking my DexNav to see if I could get this special Minun, eventually deciding around the 2-hour point to capture an Electrike, for the sake of having the ability Static. While many know that Static has the chance to paralyze an opponent, I doubt more than a handful of you will know that Static can also increase the likelihood of Electric types spawning. Just put a Pokemon with Static or Lightning Rod at the front of the party, and you'll be able to be swarmed by Electric types, so long as one is coded to spawn on that route. With all these things working in my favor, I eventually found the Minun I'd been seeking. I caught him in a Premier Ball and named him Denki, the Japanese word for electricity. I then went to deliver the Devon parts to Captain Stern. Unfortunately, he wasn't around. Instead, I met with Doc, who directed me to the Oceanic Museum. There, I was able to not only find Captain Stern, but also Team Aqua. I did battle with them before their leader appeared. After calling his grunts simps in a game made before simping was even a term popularized by Twitter and TikTok, he introduces himself as Archie, and explains how he cannot forgive humanity for ruining the great treasure that is the ocean, the source of life for people and Pokemon. So, he's taking everything back to the beginning. In layman's terms, we're fighting an eco-terrorist organization. Not again. Anyways, we deliver the parts to Captain Stern, and are now able to continue with our adventure. Well, after ignoring Lycia's scouting us as the next Pokemon contest star. Sorry, contest fans. Traveling across the next route, we evolve Jolene into a Breloom, before meeting back up with May. She challenges us to a battle, but we're able to beat her with little difficulty. Then, we head to Mauville City, home of our next gym badge. There we see a familiar face in Wally, alongside his uncle. Wally seems to be doing well and has also grown a taste for battling, as he's actually interested in facing the gym leader. Before heading over to the gym, we quickly grab the Mach Bike from Rydell's Cycles in order to get us some increased movement speed. With the Mach Bike, I'm allowed to go back to Granite Cave and explore the underground portions. While the items I got weren't too helpful, especially since I wasn't really planning to use a Steelix, at least it was some decent training for the team. After finishing up this small training session, I then returned to Mauville to challenge the gym. Just before I can enter, though, Wally asks me for a battle. Of course, I accept this challenge, though Denki quickly dispatches Wally's only Pokemon with the use of Electro Ball. This makes Wally realize that being a trainer may be more difficult than he expected, and so he chooses to not challenge the gym yet. For crushing the dreams of a poor, sick child, we are given the HM for Rock Smash. Great! Now we can shatter things that don't have feelings! It's then that we enter the gym to get our third badge. Being an electric gym, I'm pretty well prepared already. Bofin is immune to electric attacks, Jolene resists them, and Denki absorbs them thanks to his ability. So once we're able to get to the gym leader, we can pretty quickly blitz through Watson's team in order to obtain the Dynamo badge. Honestly, this gym alone shows just how ridiculously good the Mudkip line is in Hoenn. I will mention that it is pretty weird that Watson doesn't have a single Hoenn electric type. Like, he has Summon Emerald apparently, but they just didn't think to give him any within any other Hoenn adventure. Oh well. We also happen to see some Team Aqua simps, so let's continue forward. After a brief reunion with May near Mount Chimney, we continue forward until we reach Fall Arbor Town. For a brief moment, we do meet up with a fellow Unovan who teaches us about secret bases, a feature which thankfully wasn't butchered like in the Sinnoh remakes, and also still works thanks to the Street Pass. Other than meeting a character who only appears in this game, nothing really interesting happens. It's only upon reaching that location that anything interesting actually occurs. By interesting, I of course mean a kidnapping. Someone should really go wake him up. We head in the direction of Meteor Falls, where we find the captive Professor Cosmo and a few members of Team Aqua. One of these members being an admin, and probably the reason why Archie called those two grunts simps. Unfortunately for Shelly, the idea that looks get you everything apparently doesn't apply to Pokemon battles, as May and I are able to handily defeat the two Team Aqua members. It's then that Team Magma shows up and proceed to stand by, watching as Team Aqua gets exactly what they were wanting. The leader of Team Magma then tells us how they're the good guys, and that I shouldn't get in their way. Wonder how things would be in another universe. Regardless, with Professor Cosmo safe, we now have more work to do. We take a cable car up to the top of Mount Chimney, in hopes of stopping Team Aqua's plans. Reaching the top, we already find Team Magma is in a deadlock with Team Aqua. We push our way through the horde of grunts on both sides, and eventually come to blows with Team Aqua admin Shelly once again. Unfortunately, we beat her with Denki, though even if we didn't have him, Jonaline could have easily wrecked her as well. Either way, she certainly ain't stopping us from reaching Archie. For some reason, Archie, the leader of Team Magma, thought he could awaken a legendary of the seas by using the power of a volcano. We do battle with him, originally starting with Denki facing Mightyena. Hey, what's Linoon doing out here? Get out! Anyways, Jolene is able to finish the job, while also planting a Leech Seed on Golbat before getting brutally assaulted with Air Cutter that she only barely survives. She still did her job though, so now Denki can just obliterate Golbat with a singular Electro Ball, before also managing to one-shot Sharpedo as well. So I guess we take care of Archie pretty easily. Though, should we expect a man who thought I just said— After getting the Meteoroid and speaking with Maxie of Team Magma, we can finally get back to the thing I'm here for. The Gym Challenge. The next gym is run by Flannery, and needless to say, things are gonna be pretty hot. After all, she's a Fire-type gym leader. She also has really nice Battle starts with Denki facing some strangely named Pokemon. Maybe some of you can tell me the name of it in the comments. Denki easily destroyed it with Electro Ball. Numel then comes out, and since it's immune to electric types, we swap to both, and well, it forgets. We tried to end it with Water Gun, but it survives and sets up Sunny Day. We fail to land Rock Slide and take damage from Earth Power before ending things with a landed Rock Slide. Flannery's ace is Torkoal, who tanks a hit from Mud Bomb in order to land Sun Boosted Overheat and do some surprisingly good damage to Bofin. She then heals, only for Mud Bomb to land an even heavier hit than the last, allowing for a final Rock Slide to win me my 4th gym badge. And you know what that means? It's time to shiny hunt! Now because we have 4 badges, a new desert area is unlocked, allowing us to find one of my favorite Hoenn Pokemon, Sand Trapinch. Now by capturing Trapinch, we're allowed to begin chaining with the DexNav. Now to explain how chaining the DexNav works, a chain builds every time you either successfully catch a Pokemon or defeat a hidden Pokemon of any species. If you don't do either of these, then the chain breaks. This is similar in concept to the Poke Radar of DS Aracino and Kalos Fame. However, there's only one Pokemon you can encounter, and if you scare it, walk too far away, leave the area, enter a different battle, or even just wait a bit too long, the chain breaks. The DexNav not finding anything does not break the chain though. Not only that, but when chaining, a boost is applied to every 5th encounter. The boost applies a 10 level increase, guarantees an egg move, and the encounters gain up to 3 perfect IVs. Most importantly though, it gives 4 additional rerolls to the calculation which determines whether or not your encounter is shiny. This does not count for the 50th or 100th encounters though, as they have their own separate modifiers for the chain. Alright, got all that? Were you taking notes and keeping track? Good, because now, it's time to throw all of that away, because while chaining can be helpful, it's not required. Shiny odds increase based on search level regardless of the chain. If you're still confused by my explanation, then I'll link a video over the exact odds that was posted by AbsolBlog's Pokemon, where he goes more in depth on the information obtained by Mr. NBA Yo. Now, the difficulty with DexNav hunting in the sand or ocean is due to the movement speed. These DexNav spawns, unlike the grass ones, are able to freely move around the area, so if you aren't close enough to tiptoe your way over, you could end up being too late before that change to a different point on the movement grid. This made hunting down shiny Trapinch very tedious and very annoying. I would end up encountering a few, only for one to easily elude me. I even found myself closing out of the game here and there just because I needed a break from this game of encounter whack-a-mole. But luckily for me, this wouldn't go on forever. Come on. Oh! 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 Okay. Well... I found it! I'm not even gonna run a risk. I am 11 levels above this thing. I am not gonna run the risk. I'm just gonna Ultra Ball it and we're calling it there. Whew. Okay. Okay, well... I'm glad you're female because I can use the nickname that I wanted to. I have another name available to me, but I know if I use that one, people are just gonna think I'm copying Giovanni's sponsored Ash, despite the fact that I've actually used the name before they did. Serious nature with good perseverance? Yep. Everyone please welcome Mirage to the team. Only 59 encounters in, which is honestly pretty lucky. Now with Mirage on the team, we're able to take on the 5th gym. Returning to Petalburg, we challenge the gym leader there for his badge. Norman, as his name denotes, is a master of the normal type. Each of his gym trainers specialize in a separate battle style with normal Pokemon, but they were really only training for my team. One trainer did have a Zangoose though, which is a Pokemon I absolutely wish I had access to in this game, as it's one of my personal favorites. Once we reach Norman, our battle can begin. He starts off with Slacking facing Jolene. After getting Leech Seed set up, we swap to Denki during Slacking's turn of loafing around. We then use Denki to hit Slacking with an Encore, locking it into the move Yawn. With Denki's speed, we use Copycat, allowing us to use Yawn on Slacking. Denki does go to sleep, but with Slacking stuck using Yawn, we can safely switch to Jolene. Encore ends, and Slacking goes to sleep, giving us the opportunity to end things with Mach Punch. The next Pokemon out is Vigoroth, and unfortunately, Yawn takes effect, and Jolene goes to sleep. I decide to test my luck and go for Mach Punch, but Jolene stays asleep, allowing Vigoroth to land a boosted Retaliate. For some reason though, it then uses Encore, which locks Jolene into using the very move which it is then able to wake up and one-shot Vigoroth with. The final Slacking then appears, taking a Mach Punch before dropping Jolene down to 1 HP with Chip Away. Unfortunately, our hard work is removed by a single Hyper Potion, with Mach Punch not even doing half against the insignificant Mudkip! I then make the mistake of assuming I'd outspeed and go for Mega Drain, causing Jolene to be destroyed by another Chip Away. Denki comes out and an entire turn is wasted by these two. Denki then stays asleep as Slacking is able to one-shot with Retaliate. We only have Mirage left, but luckily, I already had a plan. With Slacking loafing around, Mirage is able to dig underground. Seeing as Slacking is actually faster, we're then able to avoid its attacks, before resurfacing with our own. Rinse and repeat, and eventually the battle ends. Mirage wins against an ace Pokemon in her literal first battle. We are given Thanos' favorite gym badge before joining Wally to Route 118. Route 118 is where we end up reuniting with Steven Stone and meeting Latios! For those who don't know, Latios is my favorite legendary. I have loved it ever since first catching it in Pokemon Black 2. I almost considered using Latios in my Unova adventure, but ended up going with Salamence instead. But this is Latios' home region, so it would be the perfect place for him to join my team. We hop on Latios' back, and he takes us to a remote southern island. Here we find Latios' sister Latias and battle Team Aqua. With that done, we're finally able to... Oh. Latias is the one who joins us. I mean, I like Latias, but not as much as Latios. So, sorry to you Latias fans, but she will not be a team member. We do, however, get a new team member soon.
Whoa! Wait, what?
What? did I... Okay, then. Okay. Okay. Yeah, so that happened. And as you could probably tell by my voice in that footage, I was very surprised and also very confused. I had already planned on Denki being my electric type, but with this happening, and Sparkanine being a modest nature, I just had to throw away my plans. I'm sorry, Denki. Maybe someday I'll be able to have a Minun on my team. Now, where was I? Oh, right. We continue our journey, evolving Sparkanine into Manectric along the way, until we find Team Aqua harassing the good people of the Weather Institute. We do battle with them all and end up earning a cast form for our efforts. We then battle May quickly, before making it to Fortree City. Before anything, we go to the next route, meeting back up with Steven and discovering an invisible Pokemon.
How do you know they're invisible?
We capture Kecleon, before we begin hunting a new member, Absol. With Denki off the team, I decided to use the DexNav to once again get a 3-star potential Pokemon. This time going after Absol. Absol is one of my absolute favorite Dark types, and with the Psychic Gym battle in our future, it only made sense to add one to the team. As we searched, Bofin evolved into Swampert, meaning our starter is in the proper form needed to Mega Evolve. We then find our Absol, catching her in a luxury ball and naming her Solus. With our intended final team member, we then head in to take on the Fortree gym. This gym being flying, I figured I'd bring my own flying Pokemon, by evolving Mirage into Vibrava. We begin our battle with Winona by sending Sparkanine to face her Swellow. Swellow is already weak to electricity, but I decide to amp things up by Mega Evolving Sparkanine. Volt Switch completely shocks Winona with a quick loss of her opener, which also allows us to bring Solus out. Unfortunately for me, her next Pokemon is her ace, Altaria. We set up Perish Song against it while it builds its defenses. Night Slash barely does any damage, but we're at least able to take a critical Earthquake. We use Detect to prevent damage, only for Altaria to heal with Roost. This is fine though, as we were mostly stalling. Now we just switch and let Altaria faint to Perish Song. Huh. I didn't know she could do that. Well, at least a critical overheat is able to take down Skarmory. Altaria then comes back out, and with Sparkanine's special moves decreased, we Volt Switch to our own dragon. The two clash with Dragon Breath, and unfortunately, Altaria's does more. Luckily, our next one is a critical hit, which ends the ace. Winona's last Pokemon is Petalburg, and I think you guys can figure out how easily Sparkanine is able to defeat this thing. That's 6 badges down. We make our way over to Lily Cove, taking a brief stop at the Safari Zone. With the Acro Bike, we're able to obtain the Absolite, allowing Solus to Mega Evolve. In Lily Cove, we once again meet up with May, before we head on over to Mount Pyre. As expected, Team Aqua are there, and we end up doing battle against Team Aqua admin Matt, who is merely distracting us so Archie can get away. Matt only has a Sharpedo though, so it's not too difficult to beat him. We then get ready to pursue Archie, but not before taking the Red Orb. In Slateport, we find Captain Stern announcing the creation of a new submarine meant to explore the depths of the sea. And would you look at that? There it goes. Team Aqua now has the submarine, so we've got to go back to Lily Cove and enter their secret base. The base is full of warp panels, which take us all over the place, including Archie's room, where we can steal his Master Ball. Eventually, though, the warping around takes us to their shipyard, where we see what they've done to the submarine, painting it to look like a Sharpedo and fitting it with a drill. The submarine gets away once again, with us having to once again defeat Matt and his singular shark Pokemon. How does the aquatic evil team only have one water-type family when they're in a region surrounded by water? Let's just go to Mossdeep City now. On the way to Mossdeep, I started to notice something. Christian of the Duststalks wasn't really putting his all into his battles anymore. He felt like he wanted more out of life. So, I decided to try and see if I could do anything to relieve this for him. Along the way, Mirage evolves into Flygon. We then get to Mossdeep City, but that's not the destination. Instead, we'll be heading to Shoal Cave. In low tide, Shoal Cave allows us to go down into the depths, where we can find some frigid fighters to add to our team. My intent was to find a Snorunt for a potential Glalie or Frostlass. However, what I found was something unexpected. I love ice puzzles. They're so fun. Hail. Okay. Okay. What did I just run into? A seal! It's a seal! Let's go! A female seal. Okay, Mirage, don't kill it. You actually didn't. Mirage, I'm so proud of you. You managed to keep it alive. We'll throw it in a luxury ball. No, I don't.
For Has-Been Hotel being like, oh, well, they make jokes like that, and they say bug constantly because it's hell, right? That's what they kept saying.
Oh, yeah.
There are angels consistently in the show now, and whoop-de-doo, they act just as bad as all of the demons. That's crazy.
That's
I guess
crazy.
It's not just a show, but maybe it's just because Vinci Pop doesn't know the right characters.
Yeah, when you're making a show about hell and the characters that are supposed to be like some of the most morally right.
Right, like I understand if you want to do like an inverse, be like, hey, maybe the demons aren't so bad as the angels.
Yeah, if you were to do an inverse, I'd understand that, but you're not.
Like you can't use an excuse. Oh, well, they're like everybody's shitty people and everybody's doing sex jokes.
Oh! What the heck?
Yeah,
Shiny Celio!
same thing.
Oh shoot.
You got a shiny.
Yeah, I got a shiny! That's my third shiny in this game!
Better catch it.
Yeah! I better! What the heck?
Better catch it.
Christian, I'm sorry you're being replaced.
Fine.
What in the world? I'm gonna say it. This is probably some of the luckiest I've been in a playthrough. While I wasn't lucky enough to find the Pokemon I wanted, I found a shiny of another Hoenn Pokemon I like quite a lot. I hunted Trapinch, but also ended up finding a random shiny Electrike and Celio. Of course, this was exactly what Christian was hoping for. As with Aurora now on the team, he could finally rest. Fly high, Christian. Hope you're happy with your time off. With our final team member being yet another water type, it's time to take on the Psychic Gym. This is the first of 3 double battle gyms that now exist, but it's also probably the weakest. Why is that, you may ask? Well, let's just take a look. I have only brought Solus and Aurora, while Tate and Liza only have Solrock and Lunatone. Solus Mega Evolves and Sucker Punches, only for it to fail as Solrock is setting up the sun. Lunatone uses Light Screen, which lowers the damage of Surf even further. So much so that it's like the attack isn't even visible. Luckily, Sucker Punch one-shots Solrock on the next turn. Lunatone does heavy damage with Psychic, and Aurora misses a Blizzard, meaning that it's up to Solus to once again one-shot. And that's it. That's the gym. 2 Pokemon, both getting hit once and fainting. Now, inherently, double battles are meant to be more difficult, but the fact there are only 2 Pokemon, both of which are very easy to take down due to their typings, this isn't exactly what I'd call 7th gym material. Still, I'll take the badge. As we leave, light erupts from the depths of the sea. All people nearby stand in shocked awe. Except for Stephen Stone. We reunite and he gives us all we need to check out what exactly caused this. We then dive down into the depths of the water. That is within Sea Mauville. Yep, in the middle of a crisis, I am traveling the wreckage of a ship to find some hidden treasures, including Beedrill's Megastone and the TM for Ice Beam. After that, we go to Seafloor Cavern. Sure enough, Team Aqua is up to their old tricks, and this time they might actually succeed. By the time we found Archie, he's already found Kyogre and defeated Maxie as well. The battle starts with the Battle of Dogs. Sparkanine Volt switches Mightyena, allowing Jolene to come out and end it with Mach Punch. Archie brings out Muck, but we switch to Solus, who gets hit with a Screech. We Swords Dance, but that was a mistake, as Gunk Shot one-shots. Bofin is out next and takes out Muck with Earthquake. Archie brings in Crobat, who does a bit of damage with Acrobatics before Bofin lands a Scald, which burns immediately. Bofin then proceeds to take another Acrobatics and end Crobat with another move. The final Pokemon Archie has is his ace, Sharpedo, and I thought it would be funny to face Archie's Mega Evolution with my Mega Evolved starter, who was only at 7 HP. And that was a waste. Jolene is out next and ends things with Mach Punch. We've beaten Archie, but he doesn't give up. Even when he's warned by his own crew, Archie still awakens Kyogre with the power of the Blue Orb. Archie's finally done it, but is almost immediately regretful. The entire Hoenn region is already dealing with terrifying storms. If this continues, the region, if not the world, will be completely flooded and submerged. Life for all but the aquatic Pokemon like Kyogre will be done. The only thing that can be done now is face Kyogre and hope to quell its primal power. We must face it in the Cave of Origin. Sootopolis City's gym leader and protector, Wallace, is the first to greet us. He notices the red orb, and knows that is the only thing which will allow us to reach Kyogre. We speak with evil team leaders, as well as May, before heading into the depths. When we reach the bottom, the red orb calls Kyogre to us. We hop on his back, allowing ourselves to be carried into the depths to the cave where Kyogre becomes its final form. This is Primal Kyogre. Okay, I know it's pretty anticlimactic after all that, but it's also really funny. Anyways, let's go get our last badge. While Norman is probably my favorite Hoenn gym leader, Wallace has my favorite gym design. The view with all the crashing waterfalls is just beautiful. The ice puzzles aren't too terrible either, and we don't take long to get to Wallace. The 5-on-5 battle begins, with Sparkanine fighting Love Disc. It's not really much of a fight if it's a Love Disc. Jolene comes out only to beat Milotic, and Whiscash, and Celio, and Seaking. Okay, not the greatest team. In fact, the Staples button represents how earning that final badge was.
That was easy.
With the gyms over and done with, we head straight for the Pokemon League. Victory Road isn't really too bad, and actually allows us to evolve Aurora into Walrein. However, just when we're almost out, we see a familiar face. Wally. He's finally gotten to our level, and is ready for one last battle. Sparkanine faces Altaria, but Volt switches to Aurora, who is able to take a Dragon Pulse and end it with an Ice Beam. Roselia comes out and sets Leech Seed, but Aurora still takes it down. Magneton comes out, but we switch to Sparkanine, who takes 2 Flash Cannons before landing an Overheat before he feints to a 3rd Flash Cannon. Aurora comes out, but despite how thick she is, she can't take a Discharge. So now we do what we should have done earlier, and use Jolene's Mach Punch to end the Magnet Triplets. Wally brings out Delcatty next, but Jolene sends this cat to the pound with 2 Mach Punches. It's then that Wally brings out his ace, and my favorite Pokemon from Sinnoh, Gallade. With Wally's Mega Pendant, Gallade becomes one of the sickest Mega designs. Unfortunately for Wally though, Jolene one-shots with a Seed Bomb. Wally wishes us luck, and it's time for us to take on the Pokemon League. The first Elite Four member is the Dark Specialist Sydney, who, despite being from Japan, is considered by many Pokemon fans to be Australian from the looks of it. He starts with Mightyena, and we Volt Switch with Manectric to take out most of Mightyena's health before Jolene comes in and Mach Punches it. Apparently, Jolene's so good at punching, her punches have become dynamic. Another Mach Punch takes out Sydney's Absol, Shiftry, Sharpedo, and Cactur. Phoebe is next, and already we've dealt with half of the types from the Unova Elite Four. Not really expecting things to be too bad. We Swords Dance up with Solus against Dusclops, but Shadow Punch combined with Curse and Confuse Ray do her in. We do a little chip with Sparkanine before bringing in Jolene. Phoebe heals and Seed Bomb does about half. A second Seed Bomb is enough to defeat Dusclops, but not before it can use Future Sight. Jolene one-shots Banette, but feints to Future Sight. As Phoebe sends in a second Banette, we bring out Mirage. Takes a couple of Earthquakes, but eventually Mirage does get the win, only to be met with Dusknoir and its Ice Punch. Much to my surprise though, she lives with 1, and gets off an Earthquake before fainting. Aurora then comes in and slowly takes out Dusknoir with a few Ice Beam attacks. Phoebe's final Pokemon is Sableye, who makes Aurora flinch and waste a turn. Aurora strikes with Surf next, but gets taken down by foul play. But thankfully, Swampert is able to finish things with Scald. 2 down, 2 to go. Glacia, the queen of cold things, is our next opponent. Her lead is Glalie, while ours is Sparkanine. We one-shot with Overheat, forcing Glacia to bring in Frostlass. Not having the best matchup, we Volt Switch so Solus can come out and end things with Sucker Punch. A second Frostlass then comes out, but it fails all the same. Walrein is next out on the field and takes down Solus. Luckily, we have Sparkanine to land a Discharge and end it, leaving Glalie as the final Pokemon to be blasted away with Overheat, winning us the battle. The final opponent we must face is the Draconic Captain, Drake. He starts off with Altaria, because we haven't seen enough of those around after catching our own back in Unova. Either way, Sparkanine Volt switches for some damage, allowing Aurora to come in and Ice Beam it. Next out is Flygon, who confuses Aurora before ending her with Rock Slide. We bring out Mirage and defeat it with Dragon Rush, only for Kingdra to meet the same fate. Drake brings out Salamence, so we switch to Sparkanine, who just barely lives a Dragon Rush. Sparkanine's Discharge doesn't do nearly enough, but it paralyzes before Sparkanine goes down. Mirage comes back out and Dragon Rushes Salamence into oblivion, leaving Drake's only remaining Pokemon as Flygon. One final Dragon Rush wins it, and we earn our right to face the champion, Steven. Champion Steven Stone welcomes us, glad to see us making it here like he hoped. After all, he was the one to invite us to take on this league. Now with both of us standing at the top, it's time to see which one of us is toppled down to the bottom. Steven starts out with Skarmory against our Sparkanine. We Volt switch into Aurora as Steven sets up the spikes. Steven heals, meaning our hidden power does nothing. The two clash with Surf and Steel Wing, bringing things very close. But ultimately, Aurora becomes the winner. Aggron is next and finishes Aurora with Stone Edge. We bring out Mirage and hit off an Earthquake, before taking a Dragon Claw. We go for Dragon Rush, but Steven actually switches into Claydol to take the hit, avoid another Dragon Rush, and almost end Mirage with Extra Sensory. We use Roost to heal, but Extra Sensory gets rid of most of that regained health. We Roost again, only for the same thing to happen before Mirage gets in another Dragon Rush. Claydol sets up Reflect for the rest of Steven's team, while also barely surviving from yet another Dragon Rush. Extra Sensory puts Mirage on our last legs, and just when we need another Dragon Rush to land, We pull it off, finally taking down Claydol. Aggron is brought back out, and Steven heals before a Dragon Rush can do damage. We switch to Jolene, who takes a Dragon Claw as Reflect wears off. Jolene strikes with Dynamic Punch, obliterating Aggron in a single fighting-type hit. Seeing our plant-based powerhouse put in work makes Steven decide to bring out his own, in Cradility. We strike with another Dynamic Punch, confusing the prehistoric plant Pokemon, who is now barely clinging to consciousness. But in that moment, it gets in a powerful Sludge Bomb, which takes down our fungal friend. Luckily, Solus is able to clean things up with X-Scissor, before coming face to face with Armaldo. With the Bug Rock being able to take a good amount of damage from our attacks, we instead set up Swords Dance, only to be taken down by Armaldo's own X-Scissor. We bring in Bofin, who strikes with a Scald. Armaldo takes the hit, but once again we get the burn with it, meaning Armaldo barely does anything to us, and that we can finish the fossil with Earthquake. With that, Steven brings out his trusted partner, Metagross, who, side note, should have been shiny like in the demo and the anime. I'm just saying. Anyways, with me already expecting Metagross to Mega Evolve, I decide to Mega Evolve Bofin. The two Megas clash, with Mega Metagross landing a powerful Giga Impact that Bofin only barely survives. Alright, Scald, burn again, it'll be so cool. You're kidding! You're kidding!
Gold comes in clutch.
And then Metagross has to recharge, so Earthquake should kill! And just like that, our water starter clutches up and earns us the champion title. Honestly, the amount of luck this Swampert got with burns is ridiculous. But that's it for now, or so we'd normally think. But this post-game is jam-packed with the best post-game story ever, starting with a little epilogue battle against May. The Delta episode begins with us receiving tickets to watch a once-in-a-lifetime shower of meteors known as the Litleonids. It's suggested we take May because I guess she's our girlfriend? Good thing I'm playing a character who does not reflect my own age. Otherwise, I would likely be the newest cast member of Dr. Disrespect and the Multiverse of Molesters. As we go to see May, we end up running into a woman with a Whismur. For some reason, she seems to know us, even though we don't really know her despite her foreshadowing. This is Zinnia. And for some reason, she seems interested in Mega Evolution, like that which May showed off. Wait! May! This isn't looking good. May's been hurt, and her keystone has been stolen. And with the mention of someone in Petalburg, we know that Wally is in trouble as well. Heading to Petalburg, we find Wally being accosted by Matt of Team Aqua. We beat him, but it doesn't matter. Wally's keystone was already taken. We were too late. It's then that we get a call from Steven, who needs to meet up with us in Rustboro. When we meet up with him, we head inside the Devon building and speak with the president. He tells us the story of a war in a faraway region, one ended by a man and his ultimate weapon. The weapon ran on the life force of Pokemon, which the founder of the Devon Corporation then found a way to harness himself and create Infinity Energy. Infinity Energy has continued to power many things, but it seems it will be needed in order to save the world. A huge asteroid, more than 6 miles in diameter, is about to collide with the planet. Countermeasures are being worked on, but they require the shard of a meteorite in order to succeed. Rather than using the meteorite I have on me, we are instead told to go to Granite Cave and claim the shard so it can be used for their device, the Link Cable. We decide to play ball and head to Granite Cave. Inside the area, we met up with Steven for the first time, but instead of meteorite shards, we find Zinnia. She drops some little bits of lore before deciding that she just has to battle us, so we fight. Her first Pokemon, Tyrantrum, is a strong opponent, taking out Aurora and Mirage before we're able to knock it out with Jolene. She then brings out Altaria, who burns Sparkanine before we can Volt Switch into Solus. Solus Mega evolves, but only puts in a little damage before being taken out. Bofin then comes out and burns the Cotton Bird Dragon with Scald. before being able to finish the job. Salamence then comes out and takes a hit from Scald before knocking Bofin out. Sparkanine comes out and paralyzes with a lucky discharge before it gets defeated in the end. Jolene comes out and in the end is able to dynamic punch the dragon to bring it down. Zinnia is happy with the battle, and so gives us a shard which reacts with the meteorite we have. She then asks a question that the Unovan in me always gets excited by. Are the actions we're taking based on ideals we're clinging to, or are they based on actual truth? Man, I want to see Zinnia interact with N now. Regardless, Zinnia leaves us to ponder the question, as we can now enter the Mossdeep Space Center. Upon arriving, we are reunited with Professor Cosmo, who has already been working alongside Steven. Cosmo explains the plan, even mentioning how the warp panels in areas like Team Aqua's base actually inspired this idea. He does explain that it will take much more energy to produce, but before anything can be asked of us, Zinnia makes her entrance. Apparently, she knows about infinity energy already, and its usage 3,000 years ago. Unlike the others in the room, Zinnia hates the plan being made, thinking it's just a bad idea, like the creation of the ultimate weapon. Zinnia takes her leave, with Steven now pondering everything mentioned. Cosmo then gets to say what he wanted, telling us to head to Meteor Falls to collect a different type of meteor shard. Steven heads on ahead of us, and by the time we make it to Meteor Falls, he's already there, speaking with a woman who claims to be the descendant of a people known as the Draconids. She tells us the tales of the Draconid people, and their ties with Lord Rayquaza, who they claim was the true beginning of Mega Evolution. She specifically tells us of the Lore Keeper, who has inherited the knowledge and power to summon Rayquaza, should a disaster befall this world, with the current Lore Keeper being none other than Zinnia. She was even why Team Aqua was able to awaken Kyogre, as she believed this would bring back Rayquaza. With more now known to us, Steven chooses to head back to Rustboro. We decide to follow his lead, and this resulting in us having to stop a run-in between an Aqua Grunt and that researcher we've helped in the past. We have a few short battles before we learn that Team Aqua has stolen the control device for the link cable, and they're likely headed to Mossdeep. Following this lead, sure enough, Team Aqua is there. Apparently Matt's plan is to make the rocket explode by using a keystone, therefore completing what was called Project Azoth, by bringing everything back to the beginning. Unfortunately for him, we defeat him in a battle easily, but just before we can get the dimensional shifter back, Zinnia's Whismur snatches it. Sure enough, Zinnia appears, talking about how this potentially could be a tragedy for another world. We have something that could potentially allow us to save billions of lives, but what's the probability of it being sent to a planet that'll result in the same cataclysm we prevented from happening to us? Do we act, not knowing for sure what will happen? Or do we put our faith in something else? While there could be a choice, Zinnia doesn't want to give us one, and crushes the device. She then takes the keystone and decides to head to the Team Aqua base. Editor's note. It only now occurred to me, we are right there. Why didn't Steven or I try and stop her? We pursue her, only to arrive too late. Archie has already been defeated, and his keystone is stolen. When she leaves, Archie ends up entrusting us with his Sharpetonite, something that we can't really utilize at all. Steven calls us, and we agree to meet back up at the Space Center, where Steven is filled in, even noticing something about Zinnia mentioning Sky Pillar. He states that Lore Keepers are some of the only people allowed to enter the place, but that Wallace should know how to enter as well, so we head to Sootopolis City to meet him. Wallace agrees to help us, being a descendant of the first people of Sootopolis. The two of us head to the island Sky Pillar resides on. However, Wallace states that to go beyond this point, we must overcome a trial. As one of the ancient Sootopolians, his duty he's been given is to test our power in an all-out battle. Only then will we have his blessing. Wallace starts with Wailord, a behemoth of a Pokemon who we just managed to KO with a Volt Switch. Jolene then comes out to face Milotic, who she takes down with a Seed Bomb. Next up is Tentacruel, so we switch to Solus. She takes a Sludge Wave before almost defeating Tentacruel with a Psycho Cut. Rain Dance brings forth a Storm, But that doesn't stop Solus from finishing the job. Wallace's Whiscash then makes a splash, finishing off Solus. Though it does not stand a chance against a Seed Bomb from Jolene. It's then that Ludicolo hits the field, doing massive damage with Ice Beam while taking a Seed Bomb. Luckily, we're able to outspeed Ludicolo once the rain is gone. Finally, we face Wallace's Gyarados. It takes a Seed Bomb and finishes off Jolene with Ice Fang. This allows us to bring Sparkanine back in though, and end things with Discharge. Honestly, this is a much better team for Wallace, though still not enough to stop us. Now, we can climb the Sky Pillar. Sky Pillar, at least in Alpha Sapphire, is a place filled with the tales of old. The tall walls have many paintings which describe the history of the Draconids and how their lord Rayquaza would stop disasters like the battling of primal powers. That's not what we're here for, however. Instead, we must make our way to the top in order to call upon this great dragon. We make it to the top, clouds surrounding the pillar. This area is explained to be the Dragonheart Altar, where Zinnia must fulfill her duties as the lore keeper. Zinnia has done it, and all she needed to do now was call forth Rayquaza's additional power. But it doesn't work. The Meteorite. An item we've had since before our 4th badge. It resonates with Rayquaza. So much so that Rayquaza takes it from us, making it a permanent part of itself. Light spills from Rayquaza's body, and Zinnia realizes that the one who should master Rayquaza is us. And fun fact, you can infinitely do this battle until you ultimately decide on catching Rayquaza. Either way, it must end the same, and we capture the Dragon Lord. Zinnia then challenges us to a battle to see how strong Rayquaza is alongside us. Her team is similar to before, with the Goodra and Noivern added. The biggest point of power on her side, however, is her Salamence, now able to Mega Evolve. But her team is nothing compared to Rayquaza. In the end, we are dubbed as her successor, and soon take off with Rayquaza to stop the Meteorite.
From the screen, from the screen, from the screen, from the screen.
From within the Meteorite, a strange creature appears. A viral monster, unlike any seen before. It charges and engages us in battle. I did it! I saved the world! And that was the Delta episode. One of the biggest additions ever put into a remake, and honestly, it is the best. Screw the Sinnoh Battle Frontier being in Johto's remakes. Heck, screw not having the Battle Frontier in this game. We may have gotten a much less interesting Battle Maison, but the Delta episode makes more than up for that. I say this as someone who has never done the Battle Frontier. Speaking of the Battle Maison, we did do a few battles within it, but ultimately it didn't achieve anything. So instead, I took the time to go to a remote island, where I could find the Pokemon Audino. Audino give boosted experience, so I used them to train Mirage to level 100. This did take quite some time, but ultimately became worth it, as my dragon reaching the pinnacle of power seemed to awaken something. We flew to an island that didn't seem to have been visible before, and there, within a cave, is a strange golden ring. We reach out, and from within, we find Zekrom. Perhaps Zinnia's mention of ideals meant far more than expected, because for the second time, our path has crossed with the legendary dragon. And that was my Hoenn journey. What a great experience to go through this incredible remake. While Mirage was the one I decided to level up to level 100 in the end, looking through this experience, Jolene was absolutely my ace. There's just so many battles where she came in clutch. Bofin had his fair share of incredible moments as well, though. I'm honestly surprised by how lucky I got as well, as I was not anticipating using Manectric or Walrein, let alone both of their shinies. Still, despite accomplishing my goals, I'm not done yet. The Pokemon world is vast, and there's so much more to see. New Pokemon are being discovered every few years, and there's always going to be new challenges to face. These adventures are something I treasure, so the next place we're visiting will resemble them. However, I do want to make this deal with you all. I've made it clear that I've never done the Battle Frontier, and that's because I've never played Emerald as a normal playthrough. But maybe it's not fair to call the remakes the definitive Hoenn experience, when I haven't experienced every version of Hoenn. So here's the deal. You guys killed it with the love for Black 2. So get this video to 100 likes, and I will play through Emerald, completing the entire game, and more importantly, gaining every gold frontier symbol. With all that being said, thank you all so much for watching, I hope you all enjoy, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye!